When St. Dominic was preaching the Rosary near Carcassonne, an Albigensian was brought to him who was possessed by the devil. The saint exorcised him in the presence of a great crowd of people. It appeared that over 12,000 people had come to hear him speak. The devils who were in possession of this wretched man were forced to answer St. Dominic's questions in spite of themselves. They said that there were 15,000 of them in the body of that poor man because he had attacked the 15 mysteries of the Rosary, that by the Rosary which he preached, he put fear and horror into the depths of hell, and that he was the man they hated most throughout the world because of the souls he snatched from them by the devotion of the Rosary. They revealed several other things. St. Dominic put his rosary around the neck of the possessed man and asked them who, of all the saints in heaven, was the one they feared the most, who should therefore be the most loved and revered by men. At this, they let out such an unearthly scream that most of the people fell to the ground, seized with fear. Then, using all their cunning so as not to answer, the devils wept and wailed in such a pitiful way that many of the people wept also, out of pure natural pity. The devils, speaking through the mouth of the man, pleaded in a heart-rending voice, "Dominic, Dominic, have pity on us. We promise you we will never harm you. You have always had compassion for sinners and those in distress. Have pity on us, for we are in grievous straits. We are suffering so much already. Why do you delight in increasing our pains? Can't you be satisfied with the pains we now endure? Have mercy on us, have mercy on us." But St. Dominic was not in the least moved by the pathetic words of those wretched spirits, and told them he would not let them alone until they had answered his questions. Then they said they would whisper the answer in such a way that only St. Dominic would be able to hear. The latter firmly insisted upon their answering clearly and audibly. Then the devils kept quiet and would not say another word, completely disregarding St. Dominic's orders. So he knelt down and said this prayer to Our Lady. "O most glorious Virgin Mary, I implore you by the power of the Holy Rosary, command these enemies of the human race to answer my question." No sooner had he said this prayer than a glowing flame leaped out of the ears, nostrils, and mouth of the possessed man. Everyone shook with fear, but the fire did not hurt anyone. Then the devils cried, "Dominic, we beseech you, by the passion of Jesus Christ and the merits of his Holy Mother and of all the saints, let us leave the body of this man without speaking further, for the angels will answer your question whenever you wish. After all, are we not liars? So why should you want to believe us? Do not torment us any more. Have pity on us." "Woe to you, wretched spirits, who do not deserve to be heard," St. Dominic said, and kneeling down he prayed to the Blessed Virgin, "O most worthy Mother of Wisdom, I am praying for the people assembled here, who have already learned how to say the angelic salutation properly. I beg you, for the salvation of those here present, compel these adversaries of yours to proclaim the whole truth here and now before all the people." St. Dominic had scarcely finished this prayer when he saw the Blessed Virgin near at hand, surrounded by a multitude of angels. She struck the possessed man with a golden rod that she held and said, "Answer my servant Dominic at once." It must be noted that the people neither saw nor heard Our Lady, only St. Dominic. Then the devils started screaming, "O you who are our enemy, our downfall, and our destruction, why have you come from heaven to torture us so grievously? O advocate of sinners, you who snatched them from the very jaws of hell, you who are a most sure path to heaven, must we, in spite of ourselves, tell the whole truth and confess before everyone who is the cause of our shame and our ruin? O woe to us, princes of darkness! Then listen, you Christians. This Mother of Jesus is most powerful in saving her servants from falling into hell. She is like the sun which destroys the darkness of our wiles and subtlety. It is she who uncovers our hidden plots, breaks our snares, and makes our temptations useless and ineffective. We have to say, however, reluctantly, that no soul who has really persevered in her service has ever been damned with us. One single sigh that she offers to the Blessed Trinity is worth far more than all the prayers, desires, and aspirations of all the saints. We fear her more than any other saints in heaven together. and we have no success with her faithful servants. Many Christians who call on her at the hour of death and who really ought to be damned according to our ordinary standards are saved by her intercession. And if that Marietta, it is thus in their fury that they called her, did not counter our plans and our efforts, we should have overcome the church and destroyed it long before this, and caused all the orders in the church to fall into error and infidelity. Now that we are forced to speak, we must also tell you that nobody who perseveres in saying the Rosary will be damned, because she obtains for her servant grace of true contrition for their sins, by which they obtain pardon and mercy. Then St. Dominic had all the people say the Rosary very slowly and with great devotion, and a wonderful thing happened. At each Hail Mary which he and the people said, a large number of devils issued forth from the wretched man's body and under the guise of red-hot coals. When the devils had all been expelled and the heretic completely delivered from them, Our Lady, although invisible, gave her blessing to the assembled company, and they were filled with joy. A large number of heretics were converted because of this miracle and joined the confraternity of the Holy Rosary. In 1578, a woman had given herself to the devil and signed a contract with her own blood. Shortly afterwards, she was stricken with remorse and had an intense desire to make amends for this terrible deed. So she sought out a kind and wise confessor to find out how she could be set free from the power of the devil. She found a wise and holy priest who advised her to go to Father Henry at the Dominican friary to be enrolled there and to make her confession. Accordingly, she asked to see him, but met not Father Henry, but the devil disguised as a friar. He reproved her severely and said she could never hope to receive God's grace, and there was no way of revoking what she had signed. This grieved her greatly, but she did not lose hope in God's mercy and sought out Father Henry once more, only to find the devil a second time and to be met with a second rebuff. She came back a third time, and then at last, by divine providence, she found Father Henry in person, the priest whom she had been looking for, and he treated her with great kindness, urging her to throw herself on the mercy of God and to make a good confession. He then received her into the confraternity and told her to say the Rosary frequently. One day, while Father Henry was celebrating Mass for her, Our Lady forced the devil to give her back the contract she had signed. In this way, she was delivered from the devil by the authority of Mary and by the devotion to the Holy Rosary. A nobleman who had several daughters placed one of them in a lax monastery where the nuns were concerned only with vanity and pleasures. Their confessor, on the other hand, was a zealous priest with a devotion to the Holy Rosary. Wishing to guide this nun into a better way of life, he ordered her to say the Rosary every day in honor of the Blessed Virgin, while meditating on the life, passion, and glory of Jesus Christ. She joyously undertook this devotion, and little by little she grew to have a repugnance for the wayward habits of her sister in religion. She developed a love of silence and prayer, in spite of the fact that others despised and ridiculed her and called her a fanatic. It was at this time that a holy priest, who was making the visitation of the convent, had a strange vision during his meditation. He saw a nun in her room, wrapped in prayer, kneeling in front of a lady of great beauty who was surrounded by angels. The latter had flaming spears with which they repelled a crowd of devils who wanted to come in. These evil spirits then fled to the other nuns' rooms under the guise of vile animals. By this vision, the priest became aware of the lamentable state of that monastery and was so upset that he thought he might die of grief. He sent for the young religious and exhorted her to persevere. As he pondered on the value of the Rosary, he decided to try and reform the sisters by means of it. He bought a supply of beautiful rosaries and gave one to each nun, imploring them to say it every day and promising them that, if they would only say it faithfully, he would try not to force them to alter their lives. Wonderful and strange though it may seem, the nuns willingly accepted their rosaries and promised to say the prayer on that condition. Little by little, they began to give up their empty and worldly pursuits, letting silence and recollection come into their lives. In less than a year, they all asked that the monastery be reformed. The Rosary worked more changes in their hearts than the priests could have done by exhorting and commanding them.